So, Rocky?
Okay, thanks, Dan. That was really good. There are a couple questions. The first being, you talked about unemployment. Are there any current projections for being back to full employment? What kind of time frame are we looking at there?
Okay, so full employment doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get back to that 3.4% level. Doesn't mean we won't, but from a definition standpoint, it doesn't necessarily mean it's back to that level. What they're projecting really is mid to late 2021 before we get back to that full employment level, which would be closer to a 4.5–5% level at that point. And certainly, if we continue to boost the economy and we don't have too many casualties from a business standpoint in that arena, if those casualties are low, the unemployment will go down even further. But if we have more and more bankruptcies relative to the small companies or companies as a whole, that's going to hinder getting back to the optimal that, let's say, President Trump would like to get to.
Okay, very good. Another question. Do you see Europe's growth? It's been lagging, it seems like, for quite a long time. Do they ever get back to, as far as we can see, equal status with the United States as far as growth and market growth and things like that?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, obviously, we've seen what the projected returns are, and the projected returns are all indicative of what type growth they feel is going to come out of each one of the sectors or economies out there. And we're just not seeing it coming out of Europe over the next, call it 3 to 5 years. They're going to be a little bit slower coming out of this whole thing from an economic standpoint than the U.S. is, and maybe even other countries. So it's unfortunate, but yeah, I think there is going to be a bit of a slowdown over there over other economies that are going to move a little bit faster.
Okay. Another question we've got is, do you think there will be more stimulus coming in the near future from the government?
Yeah, I think there will be, but it's going to be a little bit more targeted, and it's not going to be in such great numbers because, again, as the economy comes up, the stimulus should be reversing because the economy should be replacing the stimulus. So I do believe it's going to happen, but I believe it's going to be a little bit more targeted. Hopefully it won't be partisan, but that hasn't held up lately. But I do believe it's going to come, but not quite as strong as it was before.
Okay, very good. Let's see here, looking over, I think, well, there's one more question from Chuck. Is there going to be some type of notification to clients when the trigger is going to be pulled on those strategies that you just said it's not quite the right time?
Yeah. So first of all, hi, Chuck. I can't wait to see you guys again in person. It'll be nice. And we'll talk a little bit about the reopening. But relative to when we pull the trigger, again, if I had to guesstimate, and again, with this market, that's the best anybody can do at this point. I would say there's a good possibility it will happen in mid to late July. But I think it also is going to require multiple triggers in the market for the market to retrace to a level we're comfortable with. In other words, should there actually be a spike in the COVID cases, we would expect that to be a drag on the market. If you have the earnings come in worse, or we'll call it worse than what we're anticipating, that would be another catalyst, and those two together might be enough to bring it down. And that really, it depends on how the news is portrayed. But we do know that things in the news tend to be a little bit overblown, and do create momentary glitches in the market. So I wish I could be able to tell you exactly when. To the other part of the question, will you be notified? Absolutely. As we're going through this process, clients will either be emailed or called to let them know that we're executing these strategies for you.
Good. Okay. One wants a speculative answer. Any crystal ball on what's going to happen with the presidential election? You want to take a stab at that? Or how potentially, with the COVID issues going on and the presidential election coming up, how is that going to impact the market?
Okay, so first of all, if I look down, I'm trying to stay off of any kind of landmines here, because everything is so volatile out there. But I would say this: first of all, in any election period, if you look at anybody who analyzes the polls start becoming really relevant 2 to 3 months out. Prior to that, there's just too much going on for those polls to be at all accurate. So it wouldn't really matter if the polls said, the president's up or the president's down from a projection standpoint, because there's just too much time. Anything can happen. So I'm not going to guess. It's beyond me. What I am hearing is this is going to be another real close one. And the reason is because there's a lot of people in the middle that are going to be making this decision. So you've got the left, they're not making the decision. The right, they're not making the decision. It's everybody in between that's going to do it. So it's up in the air. It'll probably be like last election, where I'll be up at 2 o'clock in the morning looking for the final numbers, just like everybody else, because it'll be that close. Relative to what would happen, let's say if there's a flip in the presidency, every indicator, every economist, every manager that we're talking with is effectively thinking that it's going to be an immediate drag on the economy and the market because of the platform of raising taxes. They're expecting that to happen if there's a flip in the White House. So we would anticipate that if there is a switch, that there's going to be a lot of jockeying in the market, where we will see a retracement a bit before people kind of get a feel of what the new administration would be doing.
Okay, so no more curveballs for today. It's the end of our questions. So I want to thank everybody for participating and asking questions. I want to thank Dan for presenting the great information today. And I think we're about ready to move on. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you on the next webinar. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.